I do want to get your concern level on deGrom. Do you really think that that's just Chris Young saying, let's just be overly cautious here? It's too early to screw anything up. Or do you think this is deGrom and we have to constantly be worried about this? Both, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think that you do have to worry about it being deGrom. If it was, let's just say the Rangers had, I'm trying to name somebody who's really popular in their prime and has no injury history at all, which is kind of tough in baseball today.
Soto,
yeah. I was thinking of a pitcher.
Okay.
But and I know I just brought him up because I'm in love with him, Framber Valdez.
Okay. Like
if Framber Valdez came and they're like, a little bit of tightness in his right side, there would be a little bit of concern that he had to pitch throughout the World Series, right? He had the extra month of pitching. And I'm like, sometimes guys, that extra month of pitching in the playoffs can hurt them a little bit. But I guess with Jacob deGrom, I'm okay with it. Somebody asked me this, is like maybe he's a guy who has to, we talked about pain tolerance during crosstalk, is maybe he's just a guy, if there's just a little twitch because he's been so hurt for his whole career. Yeah, he's like, he goes into the trainer and he's like, hey, I'm fine, but my left side right here is just a little bit. And they're like, all right, shut him down for now. Give him a day. Let's make sure where I would have just been like, I'm not telling anybody my right side is bugging me unless it's really bugging me. So what? It's my right side. I'll be fine. I'll give it a day or two. If it's hurting 48 hours later, then maybe I'll go in and go hey, for some reason my right side is a little bit off. You want to check it out? And they'd be like, we don't care about you. You're a nobody. But which is interesting, right? Because if your right side's hurting you and you're Mike Bassick, they might release you.
Yeah.
If you're obviously for Jacob deGrom, your left side's bugging you a little bit, like this, take a day off and
you're gonna get a bunch of eye rolls on Twitter.
Have you ever noticed when somebody pitches bad and they're great and they had something that was bugging them earlier in the week? They had a little neck stiffness after waking up or whatever. Look, he had neck stiffness. What are you gonna do? He gave up 5 runs. Dude, if you have a little bit of a sore shoulder and you're Glenn Otto or Dane Dunning, they're send him down to the minors. What the hell's wrong with this guy?
This out for the next 2 weeks or so.
All
right, so then we'll just keep an eye. We'll monitor it. We will be out at spring training. We'll be the only station out there, by the way, covering the Rangers like we do as the Rangers prepare for an awesome season.
We don't know about Kansas City stations. Sometimes they show up.
Yeah, that's
for the
fair.
Royals.
That's a valid point. We have no clue if they'll be there or not. So, but we'll be out there covering the Rangers, bringing all the excitement, all the great interviews. I'm looking forward to seeing Bochy, getting a conversation in with him, trying to see how he approaches what he looks at this team now that it's all put together.
You know what I need to look up? Because I talked about the World Baseball Classic yesterday, and I forgot this. But when we were in Surprise, Arizona, I think Venezuela was in the tournament in Phoenix to start off.
Okay.
They practiced at Surprise, and they played a game there. So we might get lucky. I don't know. There might be Team USA is playing in Phoenix. Mexico is playing in Phoenix. Canada's playing in Phoenix. Can you imagine if maybe we look it up and all of a sudden we're there and in Surprise, Arizona, Team USA with Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Bobby Witt Jr., Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson's your guy, right? All of these guys are here and they're playing a game in Surprise, Arizona. How fun would that be to watch? You're getting to watch an all-star game somewhat in spring training.
They don't have the locations listed. I'm gonna go figure this out because I
was just thinking about that as we were talking. I'm like, you know what? I remember seeing the Venezuelan team
everywhere. We can get everywhere so fast.
That's the thing about Joe Kelly, right? That's why he said I'm not going to Florida. I'd rather retire than go to Florida spring training. Is that in Florida your average bus ride to play a spring training game is 2 hours. That's average. Average in Arizona is 15 to 25 minutes, somewhere in there. Your longest trip is to go play the Angels, and that's about a hour bus ride. That's your horrible trip from Surprise, Arizona. So a lot of people ask me, hey, what about spring training? What can I do besides maybe go see the Rangers play? I'm like, dude, you don't have to just go see the Rangers play. If you want to go see the Dodgers play or the Guardians or the White Sox or whoever, San Francisco, you can see all of these teams within a 30-minute drive, sometimes a 10-minute drive to go see these teams play. So you can see a dozen baseball teams play in 4 days.
Yeah, I'm in on that. I'm totally in on something like that. We got about 4 minutes here, maybe 5.
All right, sorry.
Jack Leiter.
Yeah.
This morning, RJ and Bobby were talking about his fall. He was in the top 25 last year for prospects. Now he's not even on the top 100 list. Is that a means for big time concern for you in that he jumps from college, which I don't even put, is that even high A ball?
No.
To double A and doesn't dominate in season 1.
College is rookie ball. I don't care. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, that's rookie ball. Most of those kids never see the light of day of a professional baseball game. So you're facing most guys that are amateur baseball players and never will be professionals. So when you go to double A, that's real baseball. They're making adjustments on you. They pushed Jack way too quick. They thought he could be the exception. And every once in a while, there are exceptions to this rule. I believe David Price was an exception to this rule. David Price went from Vanderbilt and went to the Rays, and the Rays were in the playoffs, and he went and pitched in the bullpen in the playoffs, if I have his career right. And then they sent him back to the minors the next year. He was in double A or triple A pitching because they're like, look, he helped us now because his stuff is so great that we allowed him to help us in one-inning situations, and now we're sending him back to the minor leagues next year to learn how to be a starting pitcher professionally. This year will concern me. I'm not concerned with him. Here's the deal. He struggled tremendously. At Vanderbilt, he didn't have to throw strikes to get guys out. Guys would swing at his stuff. His stuff was so good, he could throw it out of the zone, and he could get swings and misses on balls. You can't do that in double A. Double A, if people don't understand this, because people will push back that played college baseball, everybody that played professional baseball and got, let's say, to the major leagues or let's say to double A or triple A, realize real baseball for the first time in your life is played at double A. If you didn't play double A baseball, you never really played real baseball, where there's adjustments being made pretty damn quickly. In A ball, I could throw, especially to the 6, 7, 8, and 9 hole hitters. You can throw balls out of the zone and they will swing and miss on those. And you're like, oh, just do it again. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, next hitter. And there are some good hitters in high A ball, but you can do that in college too. You could go face TCU, and if you have good enough stuff and good enough, let's say, location, because I didn't have the stuff, but I had location. I had great stuff considered college-wise, but major league-wise, below average stuff. I could just go against TCU and just dominate them because they're going to swing at a lot of bad pitches. They're going to get themselves out. I just have to let them get themselves out. Well, in double A, you can't just let them get themselves out. You're going to have to throw quality pitches. You're going to have to know how to pitch in 2-0, 3-1 situations. You're going to have to know how to pitch in 0-2, 1-2 situations. Jack didn't learn those things at Vanderbilt. It's not a high enough level to learn at Vanderbilt. And that's one of the best places to go. Here's the other thing too. My first ever time to struggle was at 19 years old in low A ball. In rookie ball, I was the best left-handed pitcher in 1996 in the Appalachian League. Got voted that in that. In high A ball in 1998, I was voted to the All-Star team.
Nice.
But in 1997 in low A ball, I was 4-14 with a 5 ERA. Why? It was my first time of failure. I was struggling to deal with the lack of success on Monday, and then it would carry into Saturday. So I'd have those days to get ready, but I was like, what is going on? Why is this happening? Oh no, I've never been hit like this before. I've never given up runs in my life. What is happening? So I was struggling with that. And here's the other thing. I had a very bad pitching coach. Fred Gladding was my pitching coach. I don't mind calling him out. Good guy, horrible pitching coach. I don't even think he's alive anymore. But he did not help me. He hurt me. He started changing things that made me worse and not better. I don't know who Jack Leiter's pitching coach was in double A, but if you're struggling for the first time ever, now you're struggling a little bit with mechanics, you're struggling probably a lot mentally, and you have a bad pitching coach along with that, it will F you up tremendously. Because when I got to high A ball, I realized in the offseason, all right, why did I get hit hard? One of the reasons I got hit hard is I was throwing too much of the middle of the plate. Number two, when I got behind in the count, I always threw fastballs, and they hit me hard on those. I got to learn how to develop a changeup in 2-0, 3-1, 3-2 situations. So if they're sitting fastball on me, which they will, I have another pitch to go to. I can throw strikes. I didn't have the issue of ever throwing balls, but I had other issues. And then I go to high A ball. They still pushed me to the next level at 20 years old to high A ball. And so I'd worked really hard on being able to throw other pitches besides fastballs behind in the count. And then I had a good pitching coach. I got Dave Miller, and he helped me out throughout the season. He worked on opposite arm fastball where I could throw better inside to right-handed hitters. I wasn't afraid to throw inside to right-handed hitters. I could throw off the plate. I knew how to set up things away now. So I started learning these things. So my
learning
failure,
how to really pitch too.
right,
Yeah.
my failure helped me learn a lot of things, and I had a good pitching coach to help me out along the way for that season. So Jack, if he has a bad year this year, he has a 4.5 ERA or higher at AA this year, I will be going, I think that the Rangers have messed this kid up.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on what
or
he
he's
does.
not able to adjust, or that he cannot adjust to this level. Unfortunately, he was a good college pitcher, and he's not going to be. He might be Spencer Howard.
Will we see anything when we're in Arizona? Like, will we be able to see him in the backfields pitching and kind of get an idea? I want to. Let's go watch a game.
We need to see him. We'll be on the air during those games.
Son of a gun!
We need to see him locating pitches in live action.
All right. I think if
the catcher sets up outside to a righty, he needs to be, if he misses, it needs to be 3 inches outside. He doesn't need to be missing 3 inches inside. Like you need to be throwing. Your catcher sets up away, you need to miss away. Your catcher sets up in, you need to mess up in.